probably will do this will probably be a short live. Um, the last live that I had, I obviously, if you listen to it, I couldn't see because I do these things on my phone, so I couldn't see the chat. Um, After I found out that when you go on to an actual computer, you can see the chat, and I read the chat, the fact that this group has any any relationship or being involved or anywhere around kids is just scary because I didn't know what to say. This stuff is just bizarre. And the fact that they're on platforms that have kids. The whole situation with Issac Kappy is not even secret. That is what is so frustrating about all of this. The picture, I'll I'll leave a link in the description when I finish. Um, it's just stuff that I have just recently what I've been sent about Issac, and this has gone on for a year now, and people just keep sending me. It's all different. It's their what they know about the situation of what they're involved with. And what happened to Issac isn't even a secret. And the people who were involved, the catalyst for what happened to Issac had everything to do with that homeless camp that was on the border of Arizona. And it's easy to figure out which one it is because Craig Sawyer and Russ Dizdar were all over in national media, national television, promoting themselves as these champions for child abuse. And now when you see what they did with what they were given, it doesn't, you can see that it was just the opposite. But that was the very homeless camp that was directly connected to the catalyst of Issac. Um, I also am totally on record saying that Issac and I got into a fight. The very last fight, the very last time Issac and I actually really talked, he told me that he had 4 phone numbers of Michael Aquino's, and he was harassing the dude on the phone. And I got mad in the conversation. I thought it was crazy what he was doing. Issac Kappy. Issac Kappy is a dude who was trying to expose his connection to the Hollywood pedophile ring that now Diddy is caught up in. Same thing Diddy, Epstein, the Abercrombie and Finch dude. They're 3 of a whole bunch of people who are all doing the same shit. And they took out Issac. They took out Issac. And I know that Issac was involved with Aquino. And Issac knew that I obviously Aquino was my handler as a kid. I think that the reason why Michael Aquino had people from the Temple of Set inundate me when Aquino supposedly offed himself in 2019 was because Issac was involved with all kinds of bad people. I think he was trying to do the right thing But in the last year, I've come in contact with all the people that were around him. And oh my God, it's been a nightmare. And so I think that Michael Aquino ended up having members of the Temple of Set because he was upset because I was making an issue about those two camps that were in British Columbia that someone from the Royal Mounties told me they had busted. But then, of course, they had these huge fires, coincidentally, in both places at the same time, and everything burned up. They were huge, huge, huge wildfires. But it had everything to do with like the 15 right feet that washed up on shore, that kept washing up on shore on in British Columbia and in Washington. That was all connected. And 15, it could be more, but I know it's at least 15 right feet. Not a left foot in the whole thing. So people, and what they're saying is that it's all people dying. And see, and they were all, the reason why the feet washed up is because they were in shoes. All of them were in shoes. Different shoes, tennis shoes, but they were right feet. And I was making an issue out of it at the time. A huge issue. Sorry, my allergies have just been, the weather has been up and down. Today was in the 60s. And now it's probably going to go back down into the 20s tonight. And so it's just been up and down and up and down. So my question is, how much is Aquino connected to what happened to Issac Kappy? Because I know that it was government. I know that Issac was so freaked out because they did to Issac what I have documented in the last year, them doing to me. The same shit that they're doing, that I've documented in the last year, is the same shit they did to Nathan Stoltman, only it caused Nathan Stoltman to have a mental breakdown. And they do it, this is their MO. This is what they do. And it's all to protect this child trafficking bullshit. And I know, because of my over a decade long, I'd rather wipe my nose with the Kleenex than have it drip. So I apologize, but Issac, N2 said Issac put himself in the path of Aquino the second he spoke to Fiona. Made his target in a whole different ball field, in my opinion. The funny thing about everything is everything, Issac and I had that conversation, but before he told me that he had 4 of Michael Aquino's phone numbers, in the same conversation, he told me that he didn't know how, he wasn't able to feed himself because he had no money. And he was convinced that they had hacked in or fucked up his PayPal, and he didn't know how he was going to feed himself. That was the same conversation. It went in, developed. We started talking about Aquino, and then he told me what happened. So I knew that Issac didn't have any money to feed himself. And then 2 days later, some dude who can't feed himself has a round trip ticket going to Australia that leaves what, 2 or 3 days after that? I don't know how someone bought him a ticket, a round trip ticket, leaving that week. That had to cost some money. That had to cost some bucks. And then he was down in Australia. And that was just a nightmare. You know, it was just, and I was experiencing it. I mean, I guess I was experiencing it secondhand, but it was because I was on the phone with Fiona at the time. And it was just, I was glad I wasn't down there, let me tell you. It was a lot of chaos. But all of this is connected. It's all connected. And Isaac, of course, Isaac, you know, Isaac was connected to Aquino, I think, because even though he never said anything about it, looking at what I know about Isaac now, I think that Isaac was a victim. He just hadn't come to terms with it yet. Because when you're a victim of this shit, you end up having, it takes you a while to come to terms with it. And now I look back at it and it's just so blatantly obvious to me. Looking back, hindsight is 2020, isn't that what they say? But the conversations, I was triggering the fuck out of Isaac, telling him what my experiences with Aquino were, not at the time realizing that he had his own experiences, and I was just dragging him down. I feel bad. But Isaac was this little boy lost, and in so many ways, he's the people that surrounded him are horrid. They're just horrid people, in my personal opinion, with my experience of having to deal with them. You know? Into says, well, before the last video he did a video where he was outside and under an umbrella, I think at a table. He said that they had got him and that he was trying to get proof of something. And so, and you do need to get, you know, you need to build trust. I just didn't realize that I thought Isaac was just an advocate. I should have known better. But I didn't at the time. And to be quite honest, had I known the people that he was hanging out with and who they were and what they were like, I wouldn't have been friends with Isaac anyway. I loved Isaac. I just didn't know that much about him. We just talked on the phone, and most of the time, we talked about my shit, you know, not his shit. And they just, I know that they have done to so many people what they have done to me. But I've been at this for a long time. And their shit, the Dead Isaac Kappy Club, is no different than fucking Lucian Greaves and his founder of the Satanic Temple and Emily Thorne, who now I guess calls herself Skills, which I really do wonder, is that the Freemason or not the free, that's, you know, not so much of a Freudian slip, but the free range humans woman, you know, are they all the same? So many people are coming out. And a lot of it is coming out. It is coming out. Ted Gunderson was a fake. He was a fake. He was a gatekeeper. Ted Gunderson was a gatekeeper. He was friends with Michael Aquino. He was a gatekeeper. John DeCamp, gatekeeper. Noreen Gosh, gatekeeper. Paul Bonacci, gatekeeper. All of them were gatekeepers to keep everyone from the truth. And that's just, if they had really wanted to focus, you have to wonder why. Everything in Franklin was all focused in Omaha, but then all of a sudden, it ended up becoming about a kid who got abducted in another town, in another state, and it was one of three. But all of a sudden, all the focus went on that kid. But if it had really been on the truth, they would have focused on Todd Beckett, who got abducted in the old market. But, you know, oh yeah, Noreen is a gatekeeper. She has so much. If she wanted to bust this situation, I assure you, she has more than enough to bust this situation open. And has for years, you know? Oh my God. The thing about you creepy weirdos is that all this weird sexual shit that you say is the fact that you actually interact with kids on kids' platforms. That's what's just scary. Now, I will warn everybody, and it might end up fucking this live up. But if I lose control of this, if I don't keep seeing conversation because I know it keeps going, I'm gonna do what I have to do to actually try and figure out how to get it back. And so they should have vulnerability checks done, every one of them. You know, are there any vulnerable individuals? Because the stuff that they say is, I don't know. After I didn't realize that you could see the chat if you looked on it on a laptop, because I'm always on my phone. I rarely use my laptop. It's old, you know, it's just I rarely use it. And I don't go on, like, you have to sign in, and I'm not signing in on a computer that's so old. And they have access to. They come into my house all the time. So I'm not putting anything that's important to me on there, really. And so I went on today and got on there and realized that when you're on a computer, you can read the chat. So I watched the thing and read the chat. And I don't know what effect they're going for, but me just reading what they were saying said so much more about them than it ever did about me. And especially at the very end, that crazy chick 19, I don't know, the stuff that they were saying, you know, was just disgusting. And it was, I hope they're not around kids. I hope they're not around kids. It was weird. It was weird. And I apologize. I just didn't want to stop the chat I didn't want to stop the live yet on my birthday because there was stuff I wanted to say. Just like on this chat and this live. There is stuff that I actually just want to get out there so that people understand. You know, my experience with fucking Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, and what I know about that satanic after school daycare, the fact that it's popping up everywhere in the nation is a big red flag because they're using it to target kids, you know? And so it needs to be investigated, you know? It needs to be investigated. All of this is connected. all of it is connected. And I know it's connected because I've been involved with this for a long, long fucking time. You know? And so to say that I don't know or I'm getting my information off the internet, none of that works. Because I've been at this with the very people that I am calling out. The very people, like the McMartin daycare, they use the McMartin like they did that case, the Hampstead case in the UK. You know, because they were focusing on the McMartin case, but Aquino, who was supposed to be involved with the McMartin case, I noticed they didn't say shit about the Presidio, which was happening at the exact same time and was way worse. And they focused everything on the McMartin. Everybody focused on the McMartin. Nobody focused on anything else. That's the same thing in the UK that they did with that Hampstead case. They had everybody focused on the Hampstead case and didn't did the Hampstead case, but again, if it was really the focus that they wanted, they would focus on that Shirley Oaks group home. That Shirley Oaks group home. And so, never heard of the McMartin case. It was the longest and most costly trial of its time. And Presidio Preschool was way worse than what was going on at McMartin. Way, way worse. You know? Aquino wanted me to think he was dead. That's why he had the Temple of Set people come at me. Because they needed to make sure that I knew. Because they knew. I don't go check this shit out. I'm not living my life going all of it, you know? I don't know. I missed Gov the last time he had just missed. And I'm doing these weird ones at night. It's just that I want to get the information out there because I know that it's been weird, you know? Aquino wanted me to think that he was dead because he wanted me to shut up about those two camps that the Royal Mounties busted in British Columbia. That, again, had everything to do with all those right feet washing up on the shores of British Columbia and Washington, you know? And so he wished me a happy birthday, though. So I know he's, you know, up and around. And so they use cases. It's just that now there's just too much information out there. There's too much information out there. Thank you. Thank you for the belated birthday wishes. It was good. I had a great birthday. You know, at the very end, to have the validation that I had with people, because really what I got the impression of is that there are people out there who actually just want to engage me on just normal conversation so that they can judge for themselves if I come off as I'm a crazy person or not. And I like conversation. I like people. So I can just, you know, one of the big gripes that we have out here, and it's one of my biggest gripes, is that kids don't know how to count change back. I just don't understand. And they don't know cursive. They could, so they're never going to be able to read anything that I write because I'm not printing everything that I write. I write, that's how I write, is in cursive. We were taught, you know. I can definitely tell you're not crazy. Thank you. I just want this stuff looked at. And I know it's all connected. Aquino has been, you know, I really don't think that it's a coincidence that Max Spears died a week and a half after I reached out to him and we started talking online. It was just, we didn't get to talk a lot because he was getting ready to go to Poland to do this, whatever he was doing. And I watched your documentary years ago. Thank you. That's the documentary that weird free range humans person showed up at my house at the same time that Zachary showed up the to start doing the documentary. And she played so many games and convinced me that Zachary was a bad guy. I ended up throwing Zachary out of my house that weekend. If you go read the stuff, I ended up throwing Zachary out because she convinced me that he was a bad guy. And then, hey, cognitive. And so then she's there for 4 days in this huge ass RV that's plugged into our house. And my other half at the time was livid because he was humiliated, because it was embarrassing, because there was no way to hide it. So on Monday morning, I end up going out with a cup of coffee to offer coffee. And I'm sitting there talking to her. She's working on her computer. And my sister Cindy, who is dead and on the other side, but still, she talks to me more now. I thought she was a talker when she was alive. Nothing has changed. But I heard her crystal clear say, stand up and look at her computer right now. And I always, whenever she says something, I do it. So I stood up right at that time and looked at her computer and caught her off guard. And then she switched screens, but not before. I saw a file 3 weeks after my dad died. They murdered Cindy. 3 weeks after my dad died. Our dad died, and then my sister Cindy was dead 3 weeks later. Long story, but connected, unfortunately. So I see that this chick has a file on her computer with my name on it. And so I told her, click on that folder with my name on it. And come to find out, this wacko had been secretly recording everything in my house for 4 days. The whole time, I had an older sister, then I have another sister. I had a brother. David Christopher only lived 24 hours. Dad had to sacrifice David Christopher. So they murdered David Christopher, which destroyed my mom. And so I'm able to watch the chat right now. I'm still getting chat. The minute it stops. Yeah, they were recording everything. And obviously they didn't get anything. 4 days and they didn't get anything. And cognitive. Found a channel called Prodigal Son Ian that's also blowing the last day's trumpet. Send me a link, will you? And so I'm just sorry I got lost. That's the problem. That was why the last live I kind of liked not being able to see the chat, because I was able to keep focus. Because what ends up happening is that there's stupid shit comes on here and it does distract me, and then I lose my train of thought. And there was nothing on there. I lead such a boring life. I have complex family dynamics and always have all of my life. But I will say that not all of it has been bad. And one thing that I was told once was, um, no, the people that I was Crown asks, may I ask if the cult that you were born in actually believed in a literal Satan? They believed in the literal Antichrist. They were Luciferians. What was living inside my dad was supposed to come live inside of me. And again, you can read that. You can read. I always suggest that people just go to my blog and read Confessions of an Antichrist. Because if you're looking for the spiritual stuff, all of the spiritual stuff, I actually wrote 2 books in one. And all of the spiritual stuff got cut out. And just what I knew about Franklin stayed. It was a good choice, but if you really want to know a lot about the spiritual stuff, the foundation, I talked a lot about it in in Confessions of an Antichrist. And that's on my blog, davidshurter.com, which is the picture, we do need Christ and spirituality, I believe, with Shiver. I'm so sorry for the state of the world right now. We need Christ and spirituality. Yes. I have never spoken to Rusty Nelson. However, the second photographer that Rusty Nelson always asserted there was a second photographer, that was my brother Stephen. Rusty Nelson wasn't lying about, he was just, by the time I got involved and started asking questions, they had him so afraid and so surrounded that I tried to reach out to him. I did. I tried to reach out to him. I tried to reach out to everybody that was involved because I wanted to talk to everybody. That's how I got involved with Noreen. Rusty Nelson is, well, of course, fucking pedophile. But my brother, when my brother died, my brother Stephen died in Ocean City, Maryland. And when he died, he was basically homeless. And I told my niece, well, he didn't have a fucking thing. I'm sure he didn't have a fucking thing. And she told me, you'd be surprised what he had a hold of. Well, I didn't know what she was talking about. Didn't go any further into the conversation. But 2 years later, in Ocean City, Maryland, some dude coincidentally by the name of Larry King Jr. got busted with the most prolific collection of satanic child porn they had ever found before. 2 years after my brother died, he died in Ocean City, Maryland, and the dude that got busted, whose name was Larry King, got busted with my brother's collection because my brother was the second photographer. The Frank Church, who did the church committee, who was investigating all of this MK Ultra bullshit, do you know how close the cult was to him? My brother's claim to fame is that if you type in Frank Church and his picture comes up, my brother took his picture. That's a picture my brother took. So my very family, who's totally involved with the bullshit that's going on, not only at Hummel Park, but at Offutt Air Force Base, they had that dude. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. People must research the church committee. They had that dude so surrounded. He wasn't going to get there was never going to be anything that ever happened. And but the important thing about it is that it finally dawned on me like a light bulb going on. Because when Aquino supposedly killed himself in 2019, and the Temple of Set people inundated my emails for like 2 days, bitching at me that I needed to go and apologize to Lilith. How the hell was I supposed to know that 3 years later he was supposedly going to commit suicide again? Because all that shit just came up again in 2023. I don't know how someone commits suicide twice. So I don't even believe he's dead. Because why would I believe he wasn't dead the first time? I thought he was dead the first time, but obviously he's not dead. He resurrected himself, I guess. And then in 2023, he decided that he got it right the last time and he killed himself again in 2023. And no. But looking at that and then realizing with, hey, Sherilyn, looking at what went on with my stepmother, because it's the same fucking thing and really kind of around the same time. They did it to both at the same time, and I was dumb enough to fall for it for both because it never dawned on me to correlate the two. But you want to know what? If my stepmother's dead, she was the fucking most animated corpse I've ever seen because I was standing face to face with her at the Farmhouse Cafe. That bitch ain't dead, you know? And neither is Michael Aquino. And Michael Aquino doesn't want people looking at those two camps, you know? I don't remember the names of the two places, and I know I wrote articles, and none of that shit is left on my blog. The only thing that's left on my blog is a video that's not accessible about if Aquino started these fires, you know, and it's not a conspiracy thing about, you know, if you go type in Mark Esper, Department of Defense, directed energy lasers in space, you'll find his fucking speech. They've already come out and admitted it. They've already told you. If you're ignorant and you want to fucking tell yourself it doesn't exist, go right ahead. But they've already come out and said Gunderson was a bad dude, you know, not just LA, New Haven, Connecticut, Tennessee, Texas. All of this for me was multi-generational. Yes, all of it was multi-generational. My dad's Uncle Phil indoctrinated my dad and my Uncle Jack in Michigan because way back when, I guess, my father's family owned Cassopolis, Michigan. So my dad is originally from Michigan. And so my dad was also a pilot who had his own fucking plane, you know? Cognitive. It's multi-generational, global, layered, interconnected system. It's a huge ass spider web is what it is. It's a huge ass spider web. And you get ensnared with one strand and you think you know it all, not realizing that that one strand is just one strand of a huge ass spider web. And that's the reason why God has to deal with this. I'm only doing my part. I'm calling this shit out. And I can call this stuff out because I've been involved with it for so long. I'm kind of knowledgeable in this stuff, you know? I know the history, I know what was going on, I know the people involved. So why wouldn't I come make, it would be kind of shitty if I didn't stand up, knowing what I do, having the experiences that I've had, being able to do what that's what God requires of all of us. It's no different from me, you know? And so Sherilyn asked in the air, when you stick your head in the sand, that is exactly what happens. Think about it. You stick your head in the sand and your ass goes in the air and you can't see behind you. So Les Wexner, I've heard of him too. Les, and there's also people that are so involved and powerful. The thing about it is that it just takes, you just need to get a focus on one house of cards. That's the reason why I was told to start talking about Issac. Because those idiots just couldn't help themselves. And you want to know why they're going to get busted? Because if you go read the screenshots of the shit people are sending me, they brag about their stupid shit. Like fucking coming into Harlan, murdering my best friend, and sending me live or posting live videos on YouTube of my town, you know? And so, they brag about their stupid shit. It's not hard to figure out. It's not hard to figure out. That's the reason why, I'm focused on it. Because it's not hard to figure out. Anyone who has a working brain cell in their head will be able to look and see, yeah, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. They're not, And I don't know, after what I've watched because tonight I watched that video on YouTube because I didn't realize you could see the conversation. And now that I know that you can see the conversation, I was reading the conversation. And again, I don't know what their objective was. Because if it was to influence people to their way of thinking or their side, I don't think it worked. And I will say that some of you in here, and you know who you are, there were several of you, made me laugh in the conversation more than once because you guys just, it's fun to watch you guys stand up and fight back. And how long people have been trying to expose them. Trey says, every now and then I rewatch your doc to remind myself just how long people have been trying to expose them. What ends up happening is that they take out everybody. They've tried to take me out over and over and over and over. They have. And the only reason I am still here, the only explanation I can give you is God. Heaven, it watches out over me. I hate clowns, Susan. I ain't going to read that because I hate clowns and I hate cannibals. No jokes about, I'm not in the mood. Sorry. Cannibalism, slicing and dicing those kids always required us eating their fucking flesh. So you can see why I have a real problem with all of that. That's the reason why I stopped singing helping out at the Catholic Church because there was something that they started talking about washing your hands in the blood. And I wasn't washing fucking nothing in the goddamn blood. Because no, no. Blood is sticky. It reeks. It stinks so bad. And it's horrid to have it all over you, and let it dry. And it smells. The smell is just, and it's not red. It's brown. Almost immediately, it's this icky, earthy, sticky, you know? And so that's why I don't want you guys talking about cannibalism and stuff. I know you guys are just joking, but Issac is the topic here. Issac is the topic for this conversation. Because what happened to Issac, what is frustrating, is that it has been out. I just showed 2 examples, and that's just 2 recent examples. Like in the last week, 2 recent examples. And I didn't share what I was sent because I just sent that to investigators. I'm not giving them what I was sent. But understand, this is 2 in just the last week. And I've been at this for a little over a year. You have no idea how many people have contacted me with kind of the same stuff. And the story is all the same. Everyone knows what the fuck happened. That's the frustrating part about it. In 4 years, so many people knew, but nobody knew what to do, I guess. And when you did, Tracy Twyman, that's the reason why they took out Tracy Twyman, because it was meant to scare everybody. That's the reason why. The law is very involved. The law is fucking involved. Are you kidding me? My sheriff in town is directly involved in protecting them and they blew up a gas station. And if it was anyone else, that would have been looked at as a terrorist attack. It would have been a terrorist attack. But the story for that gas station has changed. The official story is not the same, just like the official story of Issac is not the same. And of course the law is investigated. For Issac Kappy, you can go for $100. You can buy a deluxe 2 CD set of his suicide. Everything, including autopsy photos. You can buy it all. I have never heard of something so fucked up in my life. I have never heard of a deluxe 2 CD set for someone who supposedly committed suicide. It is the weirdest. It's weird. And it's not normal. And because it's not normal, it's suspect. And that's how I look at it, is that it's suspect because it's so weird. It's so weird. And none of it is real. None of it is real. And I know that God has me in this position because who could have guessed when that gas station went off and KETV came up and interviewed Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross and also interviewed me in front of my sister's house, but my house was kitty corner and right across the street from the gas station. Who could have known that they were going to lie on that official report? And now, but there's a news report that reports exactly opposite. I just don't believe this. The CD set is just too fucking bizarre. When I found out, because people were telling me they saw autopsy reports. And you want to know how I found out? That was one of the conversations that had come up with Fiona. She was mad because I wouldn't get out of this. And she was the one who told me, dude, there's a 2 CD. You can go order the 2 CD set, and you can see it for yourself. What they did to him was awful, and this whole thing has been fucking surreal. It's like I live in a world where logic, there's no justice, and the crimes are so fucking in everyone's face, and yet nothing gets done. And I'm not gonna stop because I don't give a shit. I'll live to 1,000,000 and keep doing this just to spite the shit out of them. You know? Fiona was totally, she was telling the truth. She was. You know, Fiona and I used to talk all the time. And the thing about it is that when Fiona and I talk, the cool thing that I really miss is that we used to talk about the shit that happened to us, because usually you can't talk about that to anybody because nobody understands. And so you end up having to explain it, and then people don't believe you. But she and I were able to just talk about the shit just because she experienced it. I experienced it. And so Fiona was drug in the mud. Of course she was. She's a woman. The fact that she, as a woman, was able to do what she did in Australia shows how fucking remarkable. It's the same shit as with me. You know, who else do you think could have hung on this long and I'm still fighting? You know? I'm still fighting. It's just that Fiona couldn't take anymore. You know? And now they've passed laws, from what I understand, in Australia. Now if she did what she did, if she did now what she did back then, they'd toss her right in jail. Because you can't talk about anybody anymore down there. And so they called Fiona Candy Girl. Yeah, that's why. I don't know if she still has Candy Girl, the documentary Candy Girl. They can say whatever the fuck they want about Fiona. But when Issac was down there, Issac wanted to bring that priest dude. Fiona was having this big family party. And lots of people were coming to this thing. And Issac wanted to bring this priest dude. I forget his first name. I forget his name. Eli. Is it Eli? Maybe that's not it, but I know his last name is Priest. Even though I'm not even sure that's his real name. Because they have so many fucking fake names. Who knows what their real name is? And so, and Fiona put her foot down. Elahai. Oh, thank you, cognitive. Elahai Priest. And Issac wanted to bring this dude to the party. And Fiona and some other dude that was connected to the Australian government. And Fiona felt that it was a setup, and she didn't want them at her family thing that she was doing and hosting. And I was on the phone during that time. I listened to Issac have like meltdown. He had a meltdown and like had a temper tantrum. Like he was throwing things and breaking things. And I was on the phone with Fiona while he was doing that shit. And it was all because she didn't want this priest dude to come to her party. And I listened to the whole thing on the phone. So they can say whatever they want. But I know that this whole Eli priest or Eli priest and this other dude that's connected to the Australian government, I forget who he was because it's hard to keep track. But Fiona didn't want them at her house. And Isaac tried to bullet through a fucking temper tantrum. I was pissed on the other side of the phone, and I was sitting in America and was pissed off at him. I wanted to hurt him over the phone. And so it was difficult for her because Isaac didn't have any manners either. And Fiona is, I mean, this is petty, stupid shit, and I'm not trying to I care about Isaac. I cared about him, and I kind of felt sorry for him, and even now, I kind of feel sorry for him, even though I understand how it was that he did that video where he was an Antichrist child killer in that video. Because the people that he hung out with, and that Seth dude, someone mentioned his name, I forget, but that Seth, I always want to say Seth Rich, but Seth Rich isn't, Seth Rich is the dude from Omaha, Nebraska that they murdered. Because he was about ready to expose the whole Epstein thing and the whole Republican Party connection. Because they were all involved. Green, thank you. Seth Green, And I should have known that Isaac was involved because they don't go recruit strangers like that. They don't go out of their way. You have to be involved. And I mean like as a kid involved. And you're only involved as a kid because your family's involved. And that's how it works. And they wanted Isaac. They had Isaac surrounded. And again, you need to go read the shit that people sent me. Because the stuff that is on my blog now, and like I said, they sent me proof. I just sent that to investigators. I'm not going to post the proof because I'm not going to let them go erase it or. But there's nothing they can do because I've already fucking sent it out, Who did I send it out to? Everybody I can fucking think of, motherfuckers. That's who I sent it out to. So when you come torture me like you did fucking Isaac, I sent it out to every motherfucker I can think of. And if I can think of more, I'm sending it to them, too. No. Isaac isn't the only one who's ever talked about a celebrity having a dungeon behind a bookshelf. No. It's this whole little sick group. And they just revel in their darkness. They just revel in it. And good. Makes it very convenient for me. Because they're fucked. But when everyone's talking about all this shit and they're talking about the Dead Isaac Kappy Club and they're talking about Isaac Kappy, not one of you should dismiss the fact that there is a direct connection to Michael Aquino. And with me, there's a direct connection to Michael Aquino. And Max Spears, there was a direct connection to Michael Aquino. Notice how it works that way? How many fucking dead people can you have around you before someone starts to become fucking suspicious of you? They're all involved. It's a system. If they're rich, famous, powerful, connected, they're fucking involved. Flat out. because they hang out in all their groups and they all do it as a group. Birds of a feather flock together. It's all a group. And if they're powerful and connected and all of that, as Madison Cawthorn said of the Republican Party, they're having cocaine-fueled orgies. Like they are with Diddy, like they did with Epstein, like what was going on in Franklin. And you have people over and over and over and over who say this shit, and it just gets glossed over. But God isn't gonna let. No, I'm not wearing underwear on my head. I'm wearing my little hat. I like to wear this hat in the wintertime. I keep my house, I'm poor, so I keep my house set at like 55. And so I'm, I dress warm, you know? But the unveiling is right now, the unveiling is happening. It is. I actually made this hat. I mean, I didn't make the hat. The hat is store-bought. This is store-bought. But this was like a belt, a cloth belt. And so I cut it and sewed it around this hat. And so it's a hat that I wear in the wintertime, you know? Oh, God. See, I'm not going to play with you idiots tonight. I'm just not going to do it. And I don't know what you guys think that you're proving with all of your weird ass, disgusting sexual bullshit. I just don't. Thank you. Your hat is lovely. Screw that guy. Thank you. I actually like it cold, and because you can dress for it, and wise. That's just it. The only productive thing he has is about me wearing my hat, you know? At least it's that. And they're not saying all this weird sexual stuff. I was mortified when I read the conversation. Now that I know that I can read the conversation on a laptop, it's time for me to go through because I need to start reading the conversation because, oh my God. But last time I lost the conversation. Susan said happy birthday, and it stopped. And I think I kept talking for, 45 minutes after that? Because it was like an hour long. This one's about an hour long. I'm going a little bit over, but I lost, but the stuff that I'm saying now, I'm just calling it out. I'm just calling it out. Go to my blog. The reason why I'm calling it out is because there's so many people calling it out. You know, it is supposed to be like a Scandinavian. That's why I did it the way I did it. Because it's supposed to look, you know, it's just a cool Scandinavian look. I love, you know, I love doing weird shit like that. Just like it. That's me. I have little souls begging for my attention. It is warm. It is warm. And I wear it just a lot, you know. Yes, the chat is, thank you, Sherilyn. And I'll just, because now that I know that you're one of those that just goes after him, and I will say, I appreciate you guys letting me know because you guys kept me abreast about what was going on in the chat. I'm not afraid of the shit that they have to say because it's just so stupid and outlandish and lies. That's what it is. And they're just trying to do, and now it's gotten to the point where it's like desperate and it's creepy. The stuff that was said in the chat was creepy, you know. I felt like I needed to go take a shower after I read it And I don't know who they're trying to influence, but I don't think people were influenced by it. Well, I think they were influenced by it, but probably not the way they were intended. And they don't fool anyone. People can tell that they're weirdos. And they're freaking on platforms with kids. Those people who left all those weird ass comments is the same group that are on platforms with kids. And do you see why I have a problem with this? You know? Because these are the people that I've had to deal with. You know, for well over a decade, every damn day. That reminds me. I was suggested that, I should tell people that, I'm writing a book because people will help for my survival while I'm writing a book. I just want you guys to know I'm actually in the process of writing 2 books. One of the books that I'm writing is What Happened After Rabbit Hole. Everyone has always asked me what happened after I published Rabbit Hole, so I'm writing What Happened After Rabbit Hole. And I'm also writing a book about my perspective on being gay. And because I have a different, parents need to keep an eye on their teens. The fucking pedophiles are not hiding out in the bushes. They're in your kids' bedrooms on their computers. They spend more time with your kids than you do. You know? I may not be able to stop it all by busting this group, but at least I can stop this fucking group. And flat out, all I can do is what I can do, my own little piece of the world. But I have a great, I'll just get rid of them because I can see the conversation tonight. Sometimes I can see it, sometimes I can't. Spread awareness, never know who will hear which part. That'll make a difference too. The thing about it is that for me, that's what has kept me going, because you do not know how many survivors have reached out to me throughout the years, thanking me for my book and all the work that I've done, because they know that they're not crazy anymore. That there's actually someone coming out, and I will say, Tracy says it's always been hard to have a good conversation with you because of the evil trolls. The nice part about it is the live that I did last time that I couldn't see the chat. I didn't get distracted, but I could only do it for an hour. After an hour, I was so bored because I want to hear you guys' questions. That one guy comes in, he only asks like one question every time. And they're always really good questions. I wish he'd just stay in here and just keep asking me questions. I love to answer questions. Do you believe people can repress memories? Yes. Yes, you can repress memories. When you go through trauma, you do everything you can not to think about it. You consciously have to repress that shit, So yes, you can repress memories, and we do anyway. You don't remember everything. We're not computers. We don't. And the problem with the repression that they're talking about, it's a survival skill. And what they're talking about with the repression is the hard part about us that are survivors of this extreme abuse is that there's emotional stuff that goes with it. And you have to deal with the emotional stuff even before, but definitely during trying to drudge up all those memories. And right, I don't want to remember. I got to a point where I figured I remembered enough. I know. I don't need to know all of the ugly, stupid shit, you know, because the stuff was, because it wasn't just slicing and dicing kids and listening to them scream until we cut out their hearts and then drinking their blood and getting raped. It was being buried alive myself and watching others being buried alive and watching kids get thrown out of planes and being hunted with kids and having to play hide and seek in Alan Bear's weird ass house with all of those secret compartments to get up to the upstairs where you said you were going to be safe. But all the while that you're playing this hide and seek game, you're listening to kids fucking screaming in pain because they're torturing kids that they find. And you're hiding, you know? And people wonder why I had the issues that I had. Because that was what I grew up with. The fact my therapist has told me all the time, the fact that I'm not dead or in jail in and of itself is a miracle. And it's just right. It's the same story. And the shit that I'm saying is the stuff that all came out in Omaha in the 80s. And it came out basically throughout the whole nation in the 80s. And it also came out in the UK. Same stories from survivors. And at the same time, it's coming out in the United States in the 80s and the UK in the 80s. It's coming out at the same time in Australia. Same shit. Survivors. Now you have to understand, there's no internet back then. There's no internet. So what? This mass hysteria was in the wind, and we all had the same stories, and it all connected to the fucking Catholic Church that has a long ass history of paying out billions of dollars to kids they fucked when they were kids. So it's a big leap that they were connected, you know? Cognitive, it doesn't make any difference because the guy is gone. Doesn't make any difference. And so it's come out. Darnell has been booted. Yes, thank you, Into, because Darnell has been booted. The two phrases, false memories and satanic panic, came from the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. That's who gave us those two phrases. And who was the False Memory Foundation? A bunch of rich, white parents whose kids came out claiming that they had ritually sexually abused them in ways that were horrific. All except Ralph Underwager. Ralph Underwager, it was all CIA. It was all Michael Aquino. Q is Michael Aquino's creation. It's Michael Aquino's creation. How I figured out that Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, was involved with Q is after that dude, someone from Q convinced him that there was demon spawn in his two children, and that dude took his kids into Mexico and harpooned them to death in order to save them from demon spawn. And I recognize that story because Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, was sending his minions in to Neil Brick's Smart Conference in Connecticut. And they were making friends with all of these women who were victims of this abuse. Then they would go home, and these people would send these women invites to these secret Facebook groups. And they would start off the same way Franklin Files started with me. They love bomb you. How great you are. Oh my God, we're just alike. We're just two peas in a pod. I love you. You're just a piece of me. Oh my God, you're amazing. And it goes on like that until it switches. And then suddenly it would switch. And these secret Facebook groups were telling these women who were victims and were dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities. And they were convincing these women that these personalities, they had personalities inside of them that were of the devil. And the only way to get rid of those pieces is those women need to commit suicide. And so they did. And that's how I recognize that story. You know? That's how I recognize that story. That's how I know that Lucian Greaves and his fucking little CIA bullshit with the Satanic Temple. And that comes from Shane Bugbee, another co-founder of the Satanic Temple. One of the main reasons he left the Satanic Temple was because Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, told Shane Bugbee that he was working with the CIA. That's where this shit comes from. They're all fucking wannabes. They're all wannabes. But it doesn't mean that the CIA won't use them as useful idiots. You know? Doesn't mean they won't be used by the CIA as useful idiots. And Doug Mesner's way more than a wannabe when you look at that satanic after-school daycare bullshit that's going around everywhere. And that's how they're targeting children. And the Dead Isaac Kappy Club, a lot of them are on the very platforms that those children are on. I just keep saying the same shit over and over and over, hoping someone with authority will clue the fuck in. Because what's happening is wrong. Is wrong. And our children aren't safe. And they need to be safe. And that's, you know, now that it's 9:30 and I've flat out irritated the shit out of myself. When Mae Brussel began to expose Aquino, her life was ended. You want to know what? Aquino knows exactly who the fuck I am and all the rituals that were done with me. Bring it on, motherfucker. He knows as well as I do that that's not going to work out well for him. That's the reason why they use their do bullshit. And they blow up gas stations. And they do all this other stupid bullshit. It's the reason why they won't use the same fucking hands-on with me that they did with Issac Kappy and Lori King and Lori King's husband and Tracy Twyman and Max Spears. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Because Michael Aquino knows the rituals they cast even probably better than I do. He knows. Just because the shit didn't work out the way you wanted doesn't mean you can change all the rules. Doesn't fucking work that way. You know? Doesn't fucking work that way. Into says never a conspiracy, cover-ups. That's the difference between me and everyone else. I fucking have documented all of it. All of it. There's no way to say that it's not. I've documented it all. Cognitive dissonance has been, to be quite honest, I've been distracted, with my birthday and all of this stuff, and their attacks have been just amazing. Just, it's, I don't try to go into detail with a lot of the hell that they're putting me through because I know they watch these and I know that they get off on me talking about it. But their shit sucks. Their shit sucks. And some days I'm having to focus every minute on where I'm at just to get through it. I am trying to get back at it. I have been sewing a little bit. It's not like, but like I said the other day, I ended up taking white paint and refreshing my entire kitchen. So it's not like I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs or, hiding under the covers or anything. I'm getting stuff done. It's just, you can't really be distracted when you're working with a machine that if you stick your finger underneath there, it's not going to care and it's going to stick that needle right through your finger. You know what I'm saying? And anyone who's an artist realizes that you kind of have to be in a frame of mood to do it. And I'm starting to get. I've never done it. But I know people who have. I know people who have. Me, I like my fingers. I don't get it anywhere near. Even with the long arm, I don't get my fingers anywhere near that needle. I've never learned how to crochet. I think crocheting is just amazing. I think it's, he committed suicide twice. What I say, Tracy's, I'm an artist. That's cool. Art has gotten me through a lot. Art has, I'm arting right now, but distracted. Exactly. That's how I feel. I'm still working on stuff, but I'm distracted. And there are days that there's just no way. There's just days that there's no way. And knitting and crocheting, I just never, it would hurt my fingers to do all of that. I don't like to do anything by hand. I mean, yes, I do things by hand because I sew on my sewing machine. But I still am using a machine, and I'm crocheting right now. That's the fun thing about it is crochet, you can go crochet anywhere, crocheting is very easy. I have a blanket that someone crocheted that I found at the Goodwill, and I love it. But then I love old school stuff like that. What I would love is a crocheted shirt. I just would love a shirt that was crocheted. That would just be amazing. I would look gay as Christmas wearing it, but it would be fun to have, I'm knitting part of a sleeve. You guys are just all knitting, Create, make music. Old-timey crafts the best. And I will say that I go outside. Yes, he committed suicide twice. He committed suicide. 2019 is when he was supposed to have committed suicide the first time. And, but just 2023, it came up all over again, and everyone was saying he committed suicide again. And so who's after him this time? And really, obviously they knew he wasn't dead. So he had to commit suicide twice. He's just, they're all losing it. They're all losing it, And I don't believe he's dead. I don't. And now that I know that he's not dead and he had Temple of Set, I know it was all. I know he's afraid because of those 2 compounds in British Columbia and the 15 or so fucking right feet that have washed on shore because it's all connected to him. Just like McMartin was connected to him along with the Presidio. But we could never look into Michael Aquino because he was protected on grounds of national security. What the fuck abusing children has to do with national security? I never quite understood. But you want to know what? We're in different fucking days. Right. Where are all the left feet? Why were there no left feet? There were no left feet. They were all right feet. You know? And so maybe Epstein isn't dead. Probably isn't. You know? But I know Aquino's not dead, and I know goddamn well, excuse my language, but I know damn well that my stepmother ain't dead. And my stepmother she's the one who handed me the match to light that dude on fire. She was killing kids. She was involved with everything my father was involved with, and she's still alive. She worked with Doug Mesner to get all those dead bones out of that closet that my dad built. You know? Wasn't Aquino the one who talked about the dude's dead mom on TV? I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Do you know that I hadn't seen him since I was a kid? Talk about repression. I saw that dude walk on stage. I think it was on one of the talk shows, and he walked. And I was watching television when it happened, and do you know that I thought I was going to pass out? I was going to die. I couldn't breathe for like 20 minutes. And I mean, literally, I was having a hard time inhaling because I had dreamt of Michael Aquino my whole fucking life, but I thought he was the boogeyman in my dreams. Talk about weird. You know, it was weird running into my stepmother when I had been told for years that she was dead. That was weird. But Michael Aquino, seeing Michael Aquino as an adult for the first time and realizing that that dude was not just a nightmare dude in my dreams. I think it was Geraldo that I saw it. It was when he came on Geraldo. But when I saw him on television and realized that the dude was real, he was not, which, you know, do you know what it's like to have your whole fucking world turned upside down? You know? Yes, Lucifer Morningstar. I made the hat myself. Thank you. You best behave yourself. Yeah. Gunderson, who acted like a fucking dumbass, and Michael Aquino, who was dressed as Merlin? None of whatever he was wearing was not what he was wearing when I was a kid. Nothing like it. He was dressed as like some sort of Merlin. And their whole little spiel, you know? And then Aquino telling everybody, you wanting to investigate me is just religious discrimination because I'm a Satanist and you don't like that, and so you're religiously discriminating against me. And that's what to listen to this dude fucking whine that he was being discriminated, knowing what the fuck that dude was guilty of, was just amazing. But that's the cool fucking thing about Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, because he's on record saying he's not a Satanist. He's an atheist. So religious discrimination doesn't work on you because you're not a Satanist. You're lying about that. Obviously, you're lying about it. You say you're not a Satanist. You say that you're an atheist. And so it's really hard to discriminate against you, religious discrimination, when you don't have any religion to discriminate against. Isn't it funny how it works? It's that whole butterfly effect. History never repeats itself exactly a second time. That's the whole key to the butterfly effect. It never, history echoes. It doesn't repeat. Right. Don't you think that we don't see it? He starts talking about Lucian Greaves and Michael Aquino, and now here all of you are acting like idiots. And I don't know what you think you're accomplishing, acting like fucking dumbasses. You know? And so, but with that said, I've been on here for an hour and a half, and I want to keep these short. I like to keep them short because people don't want to watch hours upon hours of this stuff. You know, they don't. Michael Aquino is directly connected to what happened to Issac Kappy. Oh, please pray. Thank you, Sherilyn. Let me pray. And then I am going to end it right after I pray. And so they're right at my feet right now. They want me. They're craving my attentions. Father, Mother, we come to you as your children. We live in perilous times. And there, like we were told, they would be the end times. There's so much information that it's hard to discern what's real and what's not. And the other side makes it really hard because they inundate the truth with so much bullshit that it's hard to have to decipher. And I personally ask that I'm trying to cut through all of the BS to get to the truth so that people know what they're looking at. And I just ask for my words on these videos to be heard by the people who are able to hear them and let it affect them in the way that helps them. You know, we're all supposed to take a stand, and I'm but a servant. My role is really, I have my place, yes, but so many of us have our place in this, and we're all important. Every one of us has a place in this. And it doesn't make any difference how small we think our place might be, because we do not know the ripples that are sent out with you using us to help further what you need. And that's what I guess the long way around it, I just ask that you work within us as us to help influence and build each other up and manifest heaven on earth as much as we possibly can. You know, focus on love. We fill our hearts with love. And how we do that is the teachings that your son, our brother, came and taught us how to live the word. And we just ask that you help us live the word as best as we are able. And every day we are better than what we were the day before. And we recognize that there are so many of us on that path. And we say these things with gratitude and love for your son, our brothers, in our brother's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. And so that was my prayer. That was a pretty good prayer. I kind of like that prayer. You know, I'm going to keep getting the truth out. Thank you. You know, this has been nice, David. done well. I'm covered in paint dust. That's cool. You know, I'm gonna be sewing tomorrow. I got some flannel because I'm making a prayer quilt for a little kid for their parents. I'm just doing it for the parents so that they can give it to their child for Christmas. And so, and whenever I sew, I pray, and I'm always focused on heaven. I'm always focused on God, and I spend a lot of time alone, and a lot of times in silence. I'll play music sometimes. That's the other thing too, is that just to let you guys know, I've been going outside and singing in my yard. I have that 9-foot fence, so I can't see anybody stare at me. So I go outside and sing. Raise our voices to God, and so I sing. And so, but yes, thank you. Into my puppies are definitely at my feet, wanting attentions, wanting treats. I'm my mom's son. My mom had a beautiful voice, and you can tell because I have that deep resonance. I know how to sing. I like to sing, always have. And yes, they're ready for bed. The house is cold, and they like to get underneath the covers. And it's funny because now that it's wintertime and I have the heat set at 55, they can't get close to me fast enough and snuggle with me hard enough throughout the night. It's been great because it's just total cuddles, They, because I think that they're just cold during the day, but they have fur, and it's not like things are freezing. It's just, I love it cold. It's the Northern European in me. That's why I did this hat. It's the Northern European. I love wintertime. And I love Christmas. I love Christmas. And I'm not talking Santa Claus and Christmas tree. Santa Claus doesn't come anywhere near my house. The reindeer don't even shit on my roof. That's how close he doesn't get to my house. So I've stopped putting up a Christmas tree. I have little ones, but they have nativity scenes on them. And, but I love Christmas because I love the whole nativity scene. I just love that whole birth of Christ. And I just love I love Christmas time. I just do. And today I was listening to Christmas music and just singing. I love Christmas music. So, okay. Well, now I have the pushy one up here. I need to get off here because I have the pushy one, and she will knock everything off this table to get into my lap to get me to do what she wants. You can already see the phone shaking. It's like I'm in an earthquake. They're hankering for my attentions, or a treat. Probably hankering for a treat. Bye guys. This has been great. This has been so nice tonight. Thank you so much, and I'll talk with you